Welcome, Web3 Media friends. I need help with that opening. That opening to me is so daunting and bizarre. I'm just like, I came up with that a long time ago when we did the live stream where we did the collaboration with all the 3D projects and we rated Monoverse together because it was a grand event. This is just another intimate talk, another hangout with friends. You've seen her lurking in spaces, perhaps, maybe on Sansound's Twitter channel, emulating Nicki Minaj, her twin sister. But who is Catalina? Front end developer and co-founder of Sound. Welcome, Catalina.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you, Minty, for having me on.
Right? That music makes me like do a big intro. It's just like, oh wow, this better be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It lived up to the music for sure. That bass boosted. I just had to have the song we're in, but.
Well, welcome, Catalina. I think, it's been a long time coming. I've wanted to have you on the show for a long time because I love how in the process you are. You're one of those people that's behind the scenes in a sense. Like you're very present, but I think that there's a lot of, woodwork for a project like Sound, which have, I think, the more acknowledgement of, oh, hey, like they're speaking about it and I'll listen there. But then, when they go offline, the first person that they're collaborating with is you. So this is part of like, the thing that I find, fascinating, interesting is, trying to find those people in the process and give them a voice and give them, I think, give other people an understanding of what skills were brought to the space in order to accomplish, I think, this dream for a lot of people, which is full-time Web3. What brought you into full-time Web3?
Right. So initially it was Wisesoft LLC. So that would be the company that was behind Wise Token. And I just came in as a product designer at first. That was in around late 2021, I want to say. And, at the time, I think about that a lot too, because I see some tweets that are like, oh, I wish I could do Web3 full time, or, that's sort of the dream to live up to.
So, and we're here to scare them away. So please give us all of the tea that we need to know.
Right. It's very scary. That's scary to stay here for so long. No, but I didn't realize like how lucky I was. I was going to say, getting up to that, because I had just taken it as another opportunity out of another sort of like apprenticeship that I was doing for product design at a creative agency here in Los Angeles. It has some international locations, but the main one was here.
When you say product design, I don't want to sort of be lost in the definitions of, and we'll talk more about this too, because I think when you say product design, especially for a company like Wise Token, who basically had a digital product, what is it that you were designing for them? What type of product is it?
At the time,
because it's not like Mattel. Like, when I say fake product design, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you did Hello Kitty.
Right. I mean, well, software's still a product, I would say. And at the time it was liquid NFTs. So that was going to be, buying and selling and just sort of betting against them. So it was a really interesting experience, or a really heavy on-ramp, I would also say, to Web3 in general, because at the time I had just learned when NFT was, probably like a few months before. And yeah, that was through like a Clubhouse.
That's everybody though. That's everybody. Everyone right. comes into space. What's an NFT? Let me buy this. Oh, it went to zero. This sucks. I'm out of here. No, stay for the community.
I actually didn't really know that was what an NFT was about. I entered a Clubhouse room and everyone had a CryptoPunk avatar at the time.
Wow.
And rather than really like reverse Google searching the image, I was like, oh, everyone DIY'd their own pixel art. Like everyone came as a community.
They did it themselves. They all sucked.
I didn't realize that it was like hundreds of thousands.
I can design circles around you guys.
Right. So I actually looked up like a pixel editor. I was gonna make my own, but I was like, oh wait, this is much larger than I realized.
Please send me the result of that. That should be your PFP.
Oh man, I'd have to look for it. I think I was like too embarrassed after I realized the fact after. I'll have to sell it maybe. But
so you get into Wise Token, you see that the product is liquid NFTs as they call it, and won't belabor sort of what that is, but in terms of product design, it seems like what is the job duty there? What is the day-to-day like?
I believe at the first point, I want to say I was just learning things all at first, like downloading all of the information that I would need to know from my friend who had actually brought me onto the job. So shout out to Pierre if she ever watches this. And then after the fact, it was just working with developers day in, day out and organizing the designs that she had already created and yeah, just kind of stepping in to support her really. But I think after a little bit of my time there, she had actually left, so I had taken over. And we just continued going based off of her original designs, as well as at that point, like a lot of these Web3 companies, they're startups at the end of the day. So doing a lot of media as well as like marketing at that time, which it was a bit funny, stepping into this. I was expecting, at least coming from my apprenticeship to Wise Token, expecting something that was very corporate. So
Mhm.
I was very like stressed on professionalism and staying within scope and like following a lot of this. And obviously, I think that's while those are good things, I didn't.
They'll go out the window in Web3, right? You're like, all right, now let's just get her done. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, like anyone, all hands. So I mean, I think that it has like a community sort of spirit, like it takes a village to get something done. So I do appreciate that.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
the
it was
multi-hyphenate
inspiring.
space that we're in. Like you have, these skill sets, and a lot of times when you're getting in meetings, it's just like best idea wins. It's just like we have to get something accomplished together. And no matter if you're in a certain position, it seems like because of the multi-hyphenate aspect, and it's like this startup kind of culture, it seems that you have the ability to play in marketing, you have the ability to play in design, and leverage programming skills, these sort of things. What is it that you felt like you brought to the space? Was it programming? Did you know programming? Was it design? Did you have a passion for art?
Right. So at the beginning, I got into design in general just because I had always just kind of envisioned a career for myself accomplishing a few things, which is, doing some sort of good, which is helping people in some sort of way, and also doing something creative. So while keeping those two things in mind to make whatever job I had enjoyable, I fell into design by getting inspired. I think it's called, what is it called? Uh, Humane design principles, which would
Mhm.
just be design principles that are geared towards making whatever creation or product that you make to be equitable, to be fair, to be something that doesn't really take advantage of
There
other
usually is
people.
a philosophy. There's a philosophy about
Yeah,
design, and that it comes into the culture, and it really takes a hold of the imagination because it gives you an idea of where design is lacking currently and where it could go to improve things like equity and the like. So you caught on to this idea, and
great.
then and that sort of flourished your concept of like, oh hey, I like this and I'm passionate about this and I want to grow within this space with this in mind.
Right. And ultimately, I think that that ethos has stayed true throughout this entire industry, right? Because blockchain itself is meant to do that as well. So I think that it was all pretty serendipitous just following into this path, which, day in and day out, sometimes making a website doesn't seem like it's really healing the world or doing some like grand good. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the technology that we're using and the vision that we have is contributing towards that. So whatever it takes.
This is the thing, whatever it takes, and within, yeah, in Sound where we share this project together, you certainly are able to put across a really strong point of view on the aspects of product design throughout the entire space. And Sound is weird because we have NFTs, we have the IEMs, the Soundware earphones that we just released. We have a music platform. We have an app. There's a lot to be done.
Right.
And does that excite you or does that stress you out?
I I get really excited. I'm especially really excited just to be like in between it all, like I get to work with so many amazing people like yourself, Devin, Flu, DL, Brian, Crow. I think that each of them have like their own creative process to it, but it is a struggle kind of merging all of those visions together and art styles. So I think that's like combining and condensing the vision down is where we get to have a little bit of trouble.
As I said, we just released the Sonware, as it's called, and we just got like hundreds of of videos of people enjoying them as they're receiving them, of the 300 that were initially released for beta testing. And in that process, walk me through that process of doing a hard physical product, because coming from Wise Token, it seemed like you were
Yeah.
working on digital products. What was it like transitioning to a physical product?
You know, I anticipate it to be much harder than it was, but I worked really closely, or I honestly, at the moment, have the privilege of working really closely with David, or DL, David Long.
David
So,
Lung, the
yeah,
lead designer of Beats by Dre and Monster, and actually just little icon of the
I
industry.
know. it's
When he
it's
talks about
really
things, my gosh, right? It's just like, oh yeah,
it's
me and Lady
enthusiasm.
Gaga, this is how we did it. You're like, well, okay.
Right, and outside of that, I think even just his knowledge base off the top of his head, like, the ideas that he has are really innovative, so it's really easy to work with him, and the process and guidance has been, like, fundamental to me even being able to help put something out like this.
It's great having people who know how to collaborate in a space, and like, just the ideas that he brings, of course, are top level, but he still knows how to work with everybody. And I think that's what I really appreciate about DL. And it sounds like, going through that process with him has been very, very fruitful. We're looking right now at sort of the box opening. And so in terms of experience, is that, part of your purview of like, looking at that experience and trying to sort out like, as a front end lead developer. And again, we'll talk about like what these, these sort of monikers mean, but like, where's that you felt like you contributed your vision to this experience?
I think it has a lot of overlap in just, in general, user experiences being pretty empathetic, and thinking about how someone is going to receive it from different parts of the world, from, uh, different backgrounds, how accessible things are, and just making the process going to be as straightforward as possible while feeling pretty personal at the same time.
And therein lies your philosophy that you mentioned, and I think that that's important. And it's, it's already showing sort of in your explanation of like, how you're presenting things and making things understandable for a lot of people, and making the experience an enjoyable one, so that they can get to the product and enjoy the product.
Right. And I think
Like
that
Chico.
while it's great that there she goes. I think it's great that I do have that perspective or just philosophy. But I think that that's especially where, I'm currently lacking. And I really appreciate guidance from, Brian himself, that we see there, because he brings in style and more of an artistic perspective, whereas I'm thinking more function and making sure that things are going to be accessible. Whereas, you could make like a box on a page that says click me. And that's not a very immersive experience. It needs to have some style and some sort of pizzazz to it.
You just do that. Do a website with that, and launch an NFT, and it's gonna be like a 7 ETH floor. Just like
Yeah.
click me. That's all it says.
Isn't that the orange PFP that just came out? I did love
Oh snap!
it.
We're gonna get into some serious tea on this episode. Um, so has being in a position like being full-time Web3 put you sort of in demand and given you opportunity in terms of like, achieving other things? I see on your resume, you do have another thing here. It's called What You Didn't See. Would you want to talk about that today? You didn't see. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one of those things. So, obviously on my resume, I have the main sort of portions of full-time work that I did. But I think all the time in between, there's always been just like little side missions, I would say. So that was one of them. Working with What You Didn't See, which is a media agency that is based out of Toronto, and I believe yeah, I think it's just based out of Toronto actually. But yeah, I was helping organize partnerships with one hotel that we actually had uh, sort of worked with called Kapa, which is a resort in Tulum. And yeah, I was kind of just helping out. I think that, like, to your point, having a multi hyphenate background allows you to put your lens to different areas. And even though I wasn't immediately passionate about resorts, I was mostly doing it as just a favor and to
Until they
help.
flew you there, you're like, oh, okay, I can work with
Yeah.
you guys. This is great. I
I
like
mean,
this
that
stuff.
was the goal. But yeah,
and
so
and I love
people,
that you have to design for even age range. Like, there's cultures and there's age range, and just,
right.
having this idea of mindset, and looking at how like you can see the joy in this kid's eyes as he's opening up the software and experiencing the software.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, how fulfilling has that been to see something in the marketplace? Because, you know, usually you just kind of put it into the marketplace. You don't really see, I think, this level of reaction to a product, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I never have, and it was really something special, especially, like, seeing the box design. I know quite a few people had complimented it, and working on it with, DL and Brian has really been amazing, and just putting all the assets together, making it come to life, and then seeing it. I mean, for the first time, even in my own hands, I was really, really amazed,
You can say
and
you had all the good ideas on it. It's fine. I think it's, it's because it's a unique experience. I mean,
I
it's
feel like
surrounded by,
it takes
well,
a
it's
village, it takes a village.
exact. It does, and it does take, you know, a thought to, you know, what it is that you're seeing. You know, when you see the box, it's just, you could have just done it in a black box, but no, you put, like, you know, certain aspects to it. Like there's the messaging, you know, on top from Shin. On the sides, what is it that you had, that you surrounded it with? It looks like coordinates.
Yeah, coordinates. So unfortunately, it was supposed to have Taipei, Los Angeles, and Jakarta. So Jakarta
Yeah.
for M Complex, Taipei, of course, DL and Kaku, and then Los Angeles just as central hub for United States, where most of us are. But there's
Unfortunately, it came up as like Bakersfield
Jakarta,
and
Los Angeles,
Idaho. You're like, wait, what?
Boise, Idaho for
Boise, yes,
yes.
for Pacheco. Um, and you know, as an offering to community, that's what I get excited about. Is, you know, this is just a beta test unit sort of thing that we've, you know, created as an experience for the community to learn, to sort of get this type of feedback. What type of feedback are you looking forward to from our community that we're building this with?
I'm looking for feedback. I mean, we've gotten a lot of feedback on the box itself, which is very, very valid feedback. And, you know, aside from manufacturing issues, I think that there's just some stuff stylistically we could have done differently. So, um, you know, not bad for a first product, but definitely it has some bumps that need to be smoothed for the next time. And on the product itself, I think that's more of DL's realm, to be honest with you. I am funneling them in, but I can only really speak for the box as that's like direct contribution. For the Sonware itself, my contribution has mainly been the OPGs, which are the graphics that are on it, as well as like color codes and placement and, you know, some sort of work along those lines. But yeah.
Let's touch also on another aspect that I know you're having a big hand in, and that's the app itself. Devin teased the app, so that gives us full reign to share this thing. And so we have here just a peek of the app. Maybe let's just listen in as he
Reality Audio. So super simple on
talks about it.
iPhones, it's the top. You gotta kind of boom, tap, and hold. And on Androids, I believe it's the back middle. But yeah, that's gonna be an amazing experience for you to listen to with these in. And I am going to pop mine in now. Oh, perfect. I'm gonna do something a little special, and I'm gonna tease the app. It's gonna look for mine, look for them.
I haven't even seen this. This is what was cool for me. I was like, oh, wow, you guys have been working hard.
There we go. See, it's right there. Boom. And now I got my.
I love the little MetaMask interaction
Control the
too.
lights.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the MetaMask Fox has like this interaction. If you're like using your cursor around it, like it follows.
Yeah.
So, like, this type of integration with the IEMs, I think, is amazing. Was that one of your choices? One of your implementations?
Yes, it was.
This is what I'm talking about. See, you guys, genius, absolute genius.
Well, I will say at the moment, you know, it's all about function, right? So that's one of the fun little like quirky things we can have as like a widget, or like you said, it's just a fun little thing like MetaMask. But details are coming and it's still in the works. So I guess, you know.
So this might not make it to the final, but in the process, we're making it fun and we're making it enjoyable
for sure,
because we're creating experiences.
Yes. Gotta get some feedback on
it.
Let's see if we get any more alpha out of this thing.
Some other things, but I'm gonna go back out.
It was just a peek. It really was just a peek.
Yes.
And so in terms of like vision for you know, San, what is it that you see for the product?
what do I see for the product? Do you want to specify which one? Our ecosystem.
That's a thing. I think, we're looking at, the actual hardware. We're looking at, this integration of platform. The app, I guess, is the platform to some degree, but the app also has its sort of standalone function as well. So there's a lot, as you said, of artistic pursuits and technological pursuits in this. How is it in your mind that you're seeing it all together? Like in a year or 2 years, what is it that you're seeing in terms of like, what San is and what San means to people?
I see it being a place for people to come together and have a very social music experience, which I know it sounds pretty vague, but at the end of the day, that's like our blanket statement
In
goal.
2 years, we're all going to know exactly what you mean. We'd be like, yes, you called it way back then. Social music experience.
I know that people get really confused when we're like, audio, like the whole ecosystem. I think it can be pretty broad and it gets deeper. It's really like an iceberg, as there was one infographic about. So that is, at the end of the day, like a blanket statement on what it is. But on a day-to-day, I think I see people going into the app and, going into a map and seeing what shows are happening right now. What do they have tickets to? What can they sell their tickets for? Or where are they going to bind and go to attend, whether that be in real life or virtually? And yeah, I just see it being a really immersive experience. I wonder how many times a day people are going to go to concerts rather than it being like a once in a blue moon because of ticket prices and just unavailability, right? I just saw a statistic actually that Taylor Swift concert tickets are like hundreds of dollars here. People are traveling to South America or Central America because tickets range from $50 to maybe like $150 USD.
Wow.
Yeah. So the price difference is insane. And also, shout out to Ticketmaster for that. But I think that just, making concerts something that anyone and everyone can attend from wherever, it doesn't have to be something that you need to move to a big city for just to attend and see your favorite brand. Finally, you can be in the Midwest and have all of the culture come in all at once.
I've done a couple of IRLs with you. What is it that you've taken away from the IRL events that we've shared together?
The IRL events that we've shared. So we had lunch that one time with like a group of people. So that was takeaway there was Mexican food was pretty good. And
spectacular food.
Yeah, space.
And then the concert experience, with Kaku and at Space Yacht, and I think from there it was just like for me it was just like the first time experiencing what San meant IRL. Like it was just like, oh hey, yeah, we can do like lunch with some of the the founders and like chat it up. But like, what does it mean for the community to participate in an IRL event that is branded, that is part of Kaku's extension of his work? What is it that informed you? Because for me, it was like amazing to meet some of the community and to come across some of the challenges that we have with IRLs. As you said, there's ticketing, and that's a mess. And then like, just the idea of like, okay, like, once you get there, I was walking up and I saw Zin. Zin is quite famous in our community because she is very artistic. And so she does a very specific like eyeshadow. I don't know if you've seen this, very specific, like silvery, like, beautiful eyeshadow. So I'm like, that's Zin. Right. So I go up to her, I'm like, hi, Zin. And then like, I hug her and then I turn and literally on her left is Junior. And I'm like, oh, they're standing together. Amazing. I'm like, hey, Junior, how's it going? And then they turned and looked at each other and said, what the hell? We've been standing next to each other for like 10 minutes, not knowing who each other is, in the community. And so I think for me, that awakened this idea of like, well, how is it that community, through IRLs, can engage further. And, I think we've made some improvements on, the process as well as, what the technology could mean, the software itself, like how could the technology alert us that, another Sandalorian was, at this particular concert, et cetera. So I'm excited about the aspects of community building and super excited about, the design elements that you're bringing, because as you're talking about it, I'm seeing more and more of conversations making sense, like in a sense of like, you're like, oh, you're thinking about equity and like, how to, reach out to people in a way that is not so exclusive. I think I don't know what the design philosophy is for you.
Leveling the playing field and also having, I think, fans be a part of the process rather than like the literal, musician is on the stage and then fans are down below. I think that it is just flat ground. Musician is, providing, I mean, their art really, and just like putting themselves in a vulnerable position, excuse me. And then community is
That's how vulnerable public speaking is. It's very vulnerable. You feel like I just messed up that lyric. I got to keep going for you. You guys are watching. You guys are tuning in here.
But the community comes in and does their part as well. So it's not just, like there to be entertained. It's like they are investing in this artist and they really see their vision. So they're coming through as well. And I think I see that as well in Kaku's shows, with Junior, Sin, them just coming through and showing up as sort of a unit at the end of the day. I think that it just made it feel so much more real for me. And it really just got me excited from it. So I think that was my main takeaway. I guess secondary, in a technical sense, would be the privacy aspect, because like you're saying, they're standing right next to each other, but do they want to be?
Sometimes you don't want Junior to know you're standing next to him.
Right. You want to be anonymous until maybe you like tap your somewhere to someone else, and then you can alert them like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm that guy. So, this is me. Yeah, you never know. There's a lot that we can do with somewhere. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really an exciting time because it's seeing everything that we can do and then prioritizing what's going to be most impactful to our community. What do they want? What makes sense for us to continue to grow and sustain everything? And what does also just like the Web2 space, the traditional music scene, what do they need? They need better ticketing. They need a better, I think, musician-fan relationship. And it's also actually funny that, of course, in your intro, you compared me to Nicki Minaj, which I'm very grateful for. But
she's grateful, let me tell you.
But I think that she's actually a prime example of a great artist-fan relationship that she has with her audience. Like getting emails. I know she recently sent out like a newsletter, and there's a lot of tweets that come out like, oh, this feels so personal. This feels like we really know her, and I think just having that medium to develop that relationship in a safe and fair way, it's what's been missing, and I'm excited that we get to build it.
This is why I love having you on the team, and I'm glad you were able to come to this point, because it's exactly what I feel when I'm working with you. You have this point of view that is centered on community, that is taking a lot of the technological advantages that we're working with. We're working with an amazing team, like an insane team of like, contributing like, oh, this for privacy, this for this, and this for, we can alert somebody and we can do all these things. But then there's somebody in the room who's like, well, maybe that's not what you want. Maybe that's, something that you'd much rather just do this, or, and I think that, again, it's the point of view of community that you bring to the table through design process that makes you an absolute superstar in my eyes. And I know that this is going to be the first of many, many conversations with you, because we're just at the start. We're we're like very early on Catalina right now. And so that's why I wanted to bring you in, because we're going to please bookmark this Twitter, mark my words, bookmark this Twitter, and then check back when I have her again on the show. And, she's in a power suit and she's like, doesn't have time for me. And she's like, sure, Mindy, just make this faster. Can you make this faster, Missy? And
Canadian suits aren't going to be a thing. They're just going to be us in the past.
She's already wearing her Canadian suit, as am I. And so
Canadian tuxedo, actually. Apologies.
The Canadian tuxedo, sorry. But that's if you complete the look with denim bottoms. If you get a denim top and denim bottom, it's the Canadian tuxedo, as I learned 2 minutes before the show started. Again, thanks to Catalina. Amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And again, love to have you back, because again, I think you bring a perspective that is super, super important in this space. And I think you're also educating a lot of people on how they can make their first steps as we go. Any like suggestions for somebody who's kind of standing in the sidelines, who's like, how do I get involved in Web3? How do I participate?
I think there's a lot of open doors here, which is the awesome part of it. You could be like a community member, just happen to have an NFT, happen to know someone who has an NFT, maybe buy into a project if you can. If not, just even join, like, for example, I know in our Discord, we just welcome anyone that is a music lover. So come in, hang out, and get to know people, see, you know, it's kind of like a bartering system in a way, you know, see what you have to provide, what you can learn from other people, and also what maybe they can help you with, and just develop relationships like that. Obviously, not everything should be transactional, but if that's how someone wants to get in, that is one option. As well as, I would say, you know, Web3 people, I think sounds also very like segmented. So
Mm.
Web3 people are regular people. I think also just demonstrating an interest in the technology, learning, find your niche, whether that be the technology, that be the community aspects, or any opportunities there, then just showing up. Yeah, Discord, Twitter. And that is a development coming from me as well, because in the beginning, when I started all this, I remember I was asking Devin at Wise Token, when we had both worked there, if I really needed a Twitter, because I didn't have any social media. So I was like, do I really need that? I don't see why it's important. But to be a part of the community is rewarding in itself. But to then be a part of, I think, this movement and finding out the news as it's happening with the merge, with just like random shit coins, excuse me, but everything that goes on, it's really like drama in real life. So it's a fun time to be a part of. And if anyone's interested in that, then those are some ways to do it. And they can always talk to me. I will be a resource as well.
Look at this, great point. And that's the lovely thing about Web3 right now, especially when you're early, is you have access to great people, people who are working in the space, founders like Catalina, and you can just reach out on her Twitter at Chef Katatui. I always mess that up, but I'll put it down in the links down below so that you can
Yep.
reach out. And we'll end on Catalina's wise words. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Minty. It's been awesome.